Good morning, YouTube. I really hope that your weekend is going well and you're relaxing. I know many people are talking about Ascension symptoms. So I wanted to go ahead and do a live Q&A with you today about Ascension symptoms and answer your questions. So I'll give just a few moments for people to come on and we'll talk. How's your weekend going? Don't forget to ask your questions in the Q&A about whatever you're experiencing that you believe might be an Ascension symptom. And I say that because Ascension symptoms are unique things that happen in periods of time where you are shedding energy. You're shedding energy kind of like a snake sheds its skin so that you can operate in, I don't want to say a new energy, but it's more of like a rebirthed energetic spiritual pattern that would be more conducive and beneficial for your growth in whatever you are personally experiencing. So a lot of times, if you happen to say have an immune condition for the majority of your life, those aren't Ascension symptoms. That's something that you need to work on that's been there a long time. You know, like I have plantar fasciitis, which is a chronic condition. That's not an Ascension symptom. You know, it's been a year now of it. It's something deeper, right? And then there's the concept of, karmically speaking, everything is energy and motion. And if you have a unique path of Dharma, perhaps there's something that you're meant to work through. Healers and medical mediums. Healers and medical mediums. Sometimes you could be operating in a unique contract wherein you are meant to experience illness so that you can get a deep understanding of how the body operates in empaths, so that you can become a teacher and light worker to help others who are experiencing all these Ascension symptoms. And then, of course, it's taken really out of context by modern New Age spiritual teachers when they tell you that it's because of a negative belief that you are not healing. And it feels very deflating and invalidating to all the work that you've done. You know, all the shadow work, all the shamanic journeying, all the tapping, all the this, all of that, when sometimes your body is just supposed to be experiencing creatively exactly what it is experiencing creatively. Holy cow, it's so bright in here. I can't turn on a light in my office these days. That's too dark. That was too light. What do you guys like better? I don't even care. So sometimes, and I can't even say sometimes because in 2020, I've noticed it's a lot of time. Empaths, light workers, healers, medical mediums in training, you are experiencing a deep degree of what I would call a spiritual initiation. You know, like how powerful is that? That you can be spiritually initiated to understanding everything that people with immune disorders and deep chronic disorders are experiencing so that you can help them through. So even the concept that something is an Ascension symptom can actually be wrong, depending upon what you are experiencing, how long you've been experiencing it, and if you've done your work to work it through in your belief systems and emotions that are at the foundation of it. So belief systems and emotions are the foundation of everything that you're experiencing in your body. That is true. However, when you take it to the full extent of saying you have not integrated something, that is called spiritual shaming. When you say you haven't done your work, people don't know if you've done your work or not. So it's a massive degree of misinterpretation and misperception to just assume that someone hasn't done their work because they have Ascension symptoms or because they have a chronic condition. So you can look at all the lifetimes. You know, I'll give you one of mine. I was a saint who had extreme health conditions at one point in time. And she did so as a degree of understanding the interplay between spirit and body. And she, as me, is still doing so now. So a lot of people may look at that like you need to do this. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to be open. I'm going to check all my belief systems. Check. Where are my struggles? Where are my triggers? Check. And if I'm still feeling good emotionally on a day-to-day basis, and I've done all of my deep subconscious work and conscious work with my triggers, I know that it's not coming from a belief system that requires integration, that would be an invalidation when others tell me that how can I express this? I don't know if any of you really, please tell me if you experience this as a light worker. Do you ever get really overwhelmed? I get this all the time. I told you guys that I had plantar fasciitis the other day on YouTube, and you were like, have you tried this? Have you tried that? And what I also told you is I have literally tried it all. Everything that you could absolutely tell me, with the exception of, I think, with the exception of wearing Birkenstocks. That was one thing that I hadn't done. And wearing a shoe called Vioxx with these little tight plantar fasciitis socks and bands. So I'm doing that now. I got the socks and the bands, and one of my friends gave me a pair of plantar fasciitis socks and told me where to get these bands. So I'm trying this new shoe called Vioxx. And then I also ordered this system. I mean, I've spent so much money. You know, when people even say, have you tried this? Have you tried that? Any emotional system I've tried, any type of healing I've tried, with the exception of ayahuasca, because I don't do drugs. If it's a psychotropic, it's not for me. So that's my personal empowered choice to not do drugs, right? So when people come to you as a light worker and say, you haven't done this and you haven't done that, and that's because it hasn't healed, whether it be emotional or physical examples of things you need to do, it can feel really horrible. It can feel really horrible, right? So I started thinking about how that feels. You know, empaths, when people come to you and tell you things about your life in unsolicited spiritual advice. Unsolicited spiritual advice. Here's why it doesn't work. Now, if I were to solicit you and say I want advice, that would be one thing. But when people come and they give unsolicited advice and you're not actually asking, you know, complaining isn't asking. What I'm doing when I'm complaining or whining is asking you to hold space and be compassionate. But there's a misinterpreted theory where people think that when you're complaining, needing someone to hold space for you, that I need you to fix me. Here's a contract that came through from the sainthood lifetime, from 2 different saint lifetimes, that I am choosing as a contract between myself and God and all of my angels, that if there's a spiritual malady, I'm going to do everything I can do, both physically and emotionally, to heal it, right? That's my responsibility. And believe me, I've done my work. But I am not meant to go beyond that. I'm not meant to take advice from people in an unsolicited way. The only way that I'm meant to actually work with people is if I ask advice from you. So that's solicited advice. So there are 3 types of advice, empaths, that you need to know about. 3 types of business, rather, energetically. Your business, God's business, and someone else's business. Unsolicited advice, even in the realm of advice from your spirit guides, is you getting in someone else's karmic contracts and you getting in their energy business. Okay? Getting in God's business looks like delving into someone else's contracts in an unsolicited way. Meaning shamans, when you automatically offer healing or energy to someone without asking them, that's getting in their business as well. And you're also taking upon their karmic energy yourself if you do it without telling them. So if you are going to send them energy, you have to at least ask their higher self, and their higher self will be that filter for what's good. Now, what's also ethical, this is ethical spiritual work when you are going to do that. If you go to them and ask and they say no, consciously, for you not to do it. That's also incredibly helpful. Without taking that personally is going to be the biggest thing that you can learn from that. All right. So that's a big thing with Ascension symptoms and working as healers with other people right now. All right. Oh, thanks for saying that. I never know what to do with highlights. You know, I'm getting gray, and I had that question, Lynn, of whether or not to let my hair just go completely gray. But my hair is actually super long. You guys never actually get to see how long it is. It goes all the way down to my waist. Look at it. It won't even go on the screen. It's all the way down my back. So when you have gray hair and you have this much hair and it starts to get this much gray, like an inch or 2, it looks weird to have this much hair that's not. So of course I do highlights and things because it looks horrible to have this much gray. Then I thought about it the other day. I'm like, I wonder what would happen if I just let it grow gray and let you guys see all the gray, and if I just didn't care. So I'm getting a good wonder about that. All right. Questions with Ascension symptoms. Yeah, it is a 2-box dye job. Absolutely. Donna says, I'm tired of wearing ugly shoes for plantar fasciitis. Me too. You know, my friend gave me an example. I think the shoes are called Vioxx, but I'm going to double check that later. And they're not ugly. And she had it for longer than I. And she cured it by wearing these shoes. And she just went over to Amazon and searched. I'm going to try what she suggested, because I asked her and she gave me this powerful advice that I just hadn't tried. And she has these socks, and she just went over to Amazon and she typed in plantar fasciitis socks and plantar fasciitis, treatments. So she got these little bands. They just look like bands. They're about this thick. And she put them kind of like, she just pulled them over her feet, and they're like above her toes, but before her heels. She wears them on top of these plantar fasciitis socks that are really tight, and they're toeless. Your toes come out at the other end. So if you Amazon or Google plantar fasciitis socks, you can get a hold of them. And they have L on one side for left and R on one side for right, although I don't find that really relevant. They feel the same. It isn't helping yet in terms of the bands or the socks for me. Bionics, yes, that's exactly what it is. Thank you, Lynn, for typing that out. So I have them on order right now. I've tried Apex, I've tried Nike, I've tried, what's the one that I have on my feet all the time right now? I'm going to show you them. They are Hoka. I've been wearing these for over a year. Not so much. I've tried $1,400 inserts from the Good Feet store. I have another type of insert on the way in the mail. I tell you, I've done it. I've tried 6 different types of shoes now. So I'm trying Bionics when they come in the mail, and I'll let you know. Crocs, I've tried it. It just makes it worse. Keens, no, none of them work, whether it be the shoes or the sandals, the hiking shoes, the hiking sandals, the tennis shoes, the flats. Oh my gosh, they have so many different kinds. I've done it. Tennis balls on my feet. Yes. Oh my gosh, we could get into all the things I've tried, but when I tell you I've tried it all, I seriously mean it, guys. Like, I appreciate that you love me, and I know that that's coming from a loving place, but oh my gosh. Yeah, it's like, I know it comes from love. I know it does, but I really, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. I've counted about $4,500 worth of tools and treatments, and that's not including the thousands of doctors visits with and not including my the hyperbaric oxygen, the what else? The physical therapy that I do, weekly, the exercises and the stretches, the bands, the towels, the stretching on stairs, oh my God, I could keep going. I could really keep going, but I really, yeah, I've tried that. I've done ASICs, 4 different types of ASIC shoes in a year. I'm done buying shoes, guys. I've ordered so many shoes, and thousands of dollars later, it doesn't. So sometimes you just have something that your body is supposed to work it through for specific reasons. I have specific reasons that are very personal, that have to do with some work that I need to get done on this planet. And that means I need to sit down. And then the other reason has to do with receiving love and receiving help from other people. So I haven't done that yet. I need to learn how to do that. So it's really personal. So nothing physical is going to get through that, right? I feel bad when I ask like my roommate and my kids for help, so that's like really, really hard, even though I need to ask. And when I do, they do it. It's just so hard to be asking for things when you can't walk and you're like, I need some water, right? It's a hard thing. Yeah. See, Cindy, that's a thing that someone could have spiritually shamed you for. Cindy said, I had it for a long time. And I couldn't get rid of it. And I had a simple surgery, and I've never regretted the surgery. Absolutely. So I am scheduled for surgery on October the 28th. That's how done I am. But I'm not going to do it on 2 feet at a time, even though I have it in both feet. I'm going to do it on 1 foot, and I'm going to see how it goes. And that's only if between now and then I don't completely find some relevant cure or help. Yes, I've done scalar energy for 15 days straight. Yes, I've done Rife. I've done the Tesla thing where they put it over your eyes as well. One of my friends came over with that. That was great, but nothing unlike what I already created from channeling Tesla myself and just visualizing the infrared. So I have this thing called Tesla Tones, which can get rid of almost anything with immune system stuff. And it helped me as well. I created it a few years ago where you listen to sine waves and you actually look at the tree of life and look at the glyphs on the tree of life while listening to sine waves. You guys didn't know that he channeled that for me. It completely, over the course of 3 years, that and Edgar Casey remedies healed a very dangerous immune system disorder, called hemolytic anemia. It was associated with like red blood cells reacting to cold. So I healed that, completely tested it. It's gone. Been testing it for several months now, and it's been like 11 months of testing it. Nothing happens. It's gone. With Tesla Tones and with Edgar Casey remedies, updated Edgar Casey remedies. So after working with Edgar Casey for about 3 years, since 2017 to be exact, I believe was when I channeled him for you guys here on YouTube. You can go look at it if you want. I worked with him, and then he began to give me updated remedies for light workers and empaths that, really need to work with healing people and channeling. So I began to create a massive journal of updated remedies, which I'm going to share with you on September the 27th. You can sign up for that at PamelaAaralyn.com. If you can't make it, don't worry. All registered attendees will get your own personal link for that channeling. But it might be good for you to actually try to show up live, because it is a Q&A channeling. So what that means is I'm going to be working directly with you on screen if you feel like it, off screen if you don't. So the only thing I need from you is your first name, not your YouTube thing, but your actual first name. If you come to the channeling, your first name, and then type into the Q&A there, the Q&A folder, what your dilemma is. And he will tell you how to get rid of it. If it's not, he'll reflect to me, to my journal. And if he can't find it in the journal, we will personally channel him so that we can find it for you uniquely. So it'll be a combination of sharings from my journal for everyone and unique remedies that work with your unique problem. So I'm really super excited about that. And ascension symptoms of this unique thing is not always just that you're ascending. Some of you come back to me 2 years later and you're like, wow, I've been ascending a pretty long time now. 20 years later, I can't really count it as an ascension symptom. So this is why I created this class. All right. I don't know your first name. It says this particular YouTuber, VF3344, says my left foot was getting swollen from sitting while working at home as well. My feet don't swell. I've definitely, I see a podiatrist, and my GP as well says there's nothing. I've done blood work, with the exception of my iron deficiency, which is recently starting to get better. There's nothing that I'm working on other than these feet, and there's nothing, wrong with my heart or my brain. The only thing that was seen in my brain over the course of the past few years was white matter, which I found to be common for most empaths, is that when you do an MRI of the brain, it lights up like a damn Christmas tree. So swelling of the feet can be many things, and it's not often an ascension symptom. Surprise. It's more often something to do with inflammation in the body in association with detoxing heavy metals and detoxing particular things in your food that come from nitrates. So nitrates come from foods that are processed, like processed meat and hot dogs and sandwich meats and processed cheese. And there's so many things in boxes and cans and jars and packages, that are processed. So it begins to take its toll. It's not actually an ascension symptom. It's your body attempting to detox, and it creates circulation symptoms over time, but it's actually not an ascension symptom. Okay. Yeah, I saw the HV copper socks for swollen legs. What I found for that is just straight up getting up and moving around, or my physical therapist told me to, and this helps for me when I have pain when I'm sitting with the plantar fasciitis. Sometimes sitting still hurts, standing's worse, but sitting sometimes for long periods of time gets hard. So I draw the alphabet with my foot, literally like A, B, C, and that gets rid of pain in the feet. But she also told me it gets rid of swelling almost immediately. So it is work, it is a little bit of physiotherapy there going on for you, but you can do it and get rid of that if you also become aware that you could be sensitive to preservatives and to nitrates. Okay. So that's not an Ascension symptom. That's food. Yeah, it's the Canadian and an American food in particular, our food systems. What are your thoughts on digestion? IBS? It's almost always an Ascension symptom that seems to just get worse over time, but it goes hand in hand with what you eat, and it goes hand in hand with, a unique problem with the way that food is grown on this earth right now is not actually suitable for light workers. So what I mean by that, um, the biome is completely stripped, both in the gut and in the soil. And we have such dry soil that can't even absorb trace minerals and nutrients into the food. So you're getting bland, just kind of uh, empty food. You're getting bland, empty food. You're not really getting that. So you're not really getting the nutrients from your food. I'm sorry, I get interrupted by my phone because I forgot to turn it on Do Not Disturb. So I'm back now. Sorry about that. Digestive issues with moringa. I mean, it's a surface level thing, but for most digestive issues, it's Ascension symptoms that if you just started experiencing it, say within the first 3 to 6 months, it's an Ascension symptom, and you need to correct it with proper foods, not necessarily supplements. Now, if you can have access to moringa, I'm growing moringa trees right now in my regenerative agriculture, and I'm really excited about taking it and grounding it down and making it into powders and putting it in smoothies and stuff, seeing if I can make tea with it, just like naturally making that, as opposed to making supplements in capsules or with the gelatin capsules and tablets sometimes seem to not even be absorbed. So when you can take things and make and grind it down to powder, when you can take your own food and put it into teas, tinctures, balms, and salves, and things of that nature, where you're doing it yourself, you know for sure that it could be absorbable. But once you put it in a capsule or a tablet, it becomes a lot less absorbable because of the way that you're taking that with other foods or without other foods, or the way that your unique gut may work. It just may not work out. Okay. So sometimes it's an Ascension symptom, and it has to do with light workers really closing themselves off. The person who asked this question, Naomi, you may really relate to this. We get depressed, we get anxious as light workers when all these changes happen, in the Great Spiritual Awakening and the shift of 2020. When these changes happen, we begin to go, nope, I'm not going to deal with humans. I'm very disappointed with humans right now, and I'm not going to help. I'm going to shut myself down and take care of myself and not let anyone else help me and not connect with other people, which means that you're actually not receiving help, not receiving love, not receiving any connection to human beings. And you're here to connect both physically and online, like whatever you can do, connecting with other human beings is the treatment for that particular Ascension symptom. Not closing yourself off. You're not here to become reclusive. That was another era, another day, another time in the past, when empaths would have to go into caves and shut down and meditate for anywhere from 10 days to 10 years and just shut themselves down in order to connect. You're here to ascend via your connection with each other. That is a unique, powerful type of ascension. And that's why a lot of different ascension symptoms are happening, because people are refusing to allow that to happen. Okay. And I understand. It can feel really hard when you're operating with a bunch of immature people and they're underdeveloped people who don't understand how to honor your boundaries. They don't understand how to really connect to you. And when you're seeing that, it's also because you're not allowing it. You're not allowing them. You're not teaching them how to connect to you. You're not teaching them how to honor your boundaries. And all of that is meant to be taught right now. So when you close yourself off from that, it causes the digestive issues. Okay. Yeah, colitis is definitely an ascension symptom, but if you've had it for more than 6 months, chances are it could be an underlying belief that has to do with feeling like the world is toxic and unsafe to be in. So that's the world is unsafe, the world is toxic, people are toxic. Those are some of the beliefs associated with colitis. Ulcerative colitis is what Sherry is talking about. Yeah. You're doing the moringa. That's good. If you've had that condition for a long time, it could be a light worker condition. And this is just a standardized light worker condition that really means you need to get your work out there. You need to be connecting with people. You need to be working with other people's energy. And you need to be being really, really clear in what you're eating. Light workers, sometimes you just can't eat what the rest of the world eats. You just can't. And you're different. And that's something that I wanted Edgar Casey to talk about in the channeling as well, that some of you are meant to eat meat and some of you aren't. Some of you can have dairy and some of you aren't. Some of you are only meant to have fish and not the meat or the chicken. Some of you absolutely cannot absorb protein except for from animal products. You don't absorb it from plant products, hence the disease PKU. Have you ever heard of that? That's a light worker condition. And if you tell them to only get proteins from plants, they will actually die, in their body at least. They will die. Some people are meant to get their protein from dairy things, particularly eggs, okay? And without it, your body will literally die. I'm sorry, not everyone has evolved. Vegans, you're going to get mad at me right now, but not everybody has evolved to that extent to be able to be a vegan. And it's not about evolution in a hierarchy scale or terminology. It's about your body is meant to do what you're meant to do. And that's it. That's it. Thank you for that super chat. I don't know what that means, that little symbol in front of that number. Is that yen? Pardon my ignorance, Elmer. I don't know what that means, but thank you. I don't know what I've never seen that. Have you guys seen that symbol? Look at that super chat. Someone tell me what that means. I don't know what it means. Looks like he just gave me $1,800, but I don't think that he did. I think it's yen, at least. But thank you. So primarily speaking, if you're still working through something emotionally and it's still there and you know the belief is still there, chances are it's not an ascension symptom. Okay. And you know that sometimes it's also not about beliefs. It could just be a unique contract, like I was saying about my plantar fasciitis. There are two different things. Emotionally speaking, I'm meant to receive love and to receive help. That's hard for me. It's not about unworthiness. It's an interesting component of if I receive love, then I feel like I'm owned by that person and I owe them something. So the negative belief and association with that for me as a light worker was I feel owned and controlled. So when people try to do that, it makes me feel disempowered and controlled by them. And it's been evidenced in my environment. Like when people try to help me, shortly thereafter, they will ask for something from me. They will ask for a reading, or they'll ask for a healing, or they'll ask for something that makes me feel taken advantage of. So me feeling taken advantage of in my life and not having any boundaries and not being able to say no when I feel taken advantage of is a big issue for me as a light worker that makes me really sad. So I'm working through that by exerting my boundaries, especially with my loved ones and the people closest to me. So that's been really hard to be able to know that I can exert a boundary and still be loved by the beings around me. So that is a core belief that I'm working through. So a lot of empaths are working through that unique core belief right now. It's just something that we're all working through, that we can ask for help and ask for love, not feel guilty about it, And if people ask for something in return, if they have a string attached, that becomes their problem, not ours. So here's one of the things that really helped me with that belief. And it was an ascension symptom and still is because it's a belief. But thereafter, once you start working it through, it could be just also a part of your contract. So mine is part ascension symptom and belief, and another one is a contract that I don't want to really get into that much. It has to do with sainthood in other lifetimes. So yeah, so it's not fully going to go away, the feet thing, unless I have a surgery or use a medical technology, which I will do. That's my way of calling back my power and using the modern advancements in science to help my body, much in the same way that people say, well, should I use a psychiatric medication? Well, you guys have seen my blog, Imprisoned Prophets. I'm not keen on psychiatric medication, but if I were in a situation where I really needed to use a psychiatric medication, I would use it as a tool and not shame myself and not allow anybody to tell me otherwise about what I need for my body and for my psychological and physiological constructs. And that's my way of working through that core belief of feeling owned and controlled when people give me advice or help, right? So that tells me it's an ascension symptom because that's how I feel when they do that. Yet also the other part of my contract says you might need a medical terminology because you've had 1,500 lifetimes of being a damn saint, right? The body has memory and it carries it through, not just in your physiological cellular components in the mitochondria, but in your atoms and in the nanoparticulates, like every part of you, and in the etheric energy that you carry through from memory. This is like in the energy memory, right? It's incredible. And it will be, you will remember. And every time I connect to the Akash and learn more about myself, it enforces that memory even deeper. So I began to have like a love-hate relationship with my journey through the Akash. Like, I want to know, but then I know, and my body's like, yeah, remember that. I don't want to be a saint in this lifetime. I just want to help. There's a difference. And sainthood does not have to mean sacrifice, right? Just doesn't. Empathy is not sympathy, and sainthood isn't sacrifice. Mingle Minor, did you just roll your eyes at me? So funny. Could my oversensitivity to fragrance be about feeling the world is unsafe and toxic? Yes. When you have sensitivity, one of the ascension symptoms that's really common is being overly sensitive to smells. Yeah. And you start to feel like that is permeating into your safety. So that's one of the biggest ascension symptoms on this planet, is that feeling that the world is unsafe and that you are thereby powerless to the world's unsafety, lack of safety. See, that's a misinterpretation, Rolanda. She asked, is only a high vibrational person, can only a high vibrational person be vegan? No. You would be completely disrespecting and taking away the credibility and honor for all of the beautiful Native American chiefs of this planet if you were to say that they are not high vibrational because they're not vegan. I've watched people in my family kill deer with bow and arrow and look directly into their eyes and talk to that deer. And I observed that deer saying, I want to merge with you as a biological component of your physiological system. I want to become your food and merge with your physiological body. I've listened to deer say that to humans. And then the bow is pulled back. And then the Native American would kill the deer and use every single component of its body, bless the deer, and use all the component of its body to create things like powerful things, powerful healings, not just food, but all sorts of things. So to take that from your ancestors by judging, but that they're less vibrational would be really insensitive and disrespectful and untrue. I'm just saying. And there are many cultures. The most dominant culture of alleged spirituality on this planet tells you to be vegan or you're not vibrational. And if that causes you to feel shame, you really need to look at any teaching that causes you to feel shame or guilt, right? If it causes you to feel shame or guilt, right? Does it? So if you want to be vegan and it's for a reason because it helps your vibration and you feel good, chances are you're meant to be vegan. But if you tried your darndest to be vegan and you just happen to need milk or cheese, then you need milk or cheese. If you've tried your darndest to be vegan and you happen to need red meat and you need to go fully back to red meat, then so be it. Have you given it a full shot first and your body says no? Your body's going to tell you what it needs. It's going to tell you what it needs. Pressure in the eyes, Sarah, are you asking if that's an Ascension symptom? Most of the time that is, actually. And it can actually turn into a migraine and other things. It normally is the beginning stages of migraines, and most Ascension symptoms that have to do with migraines means that you haven't made peace with how you see the world, the extraneous world. Now, particularly with you, Sarah, what I think is you made peace with how you see yourself. So that is a resulting Ascension symptom that's about to fade away with you making peace with how you see yourself. So now if it gets worse, now that you've started to make peace with how you see yourself, with deep self-acceptance for you, then you would need to look at the world and say, well, have I made peace with how I see the world? And only you can know the answer if you've made peace with how you see your world. Okay. Yeah, Maria Hojanowski, absolutely. She said, my body does better with me. I get it from a local sustainable farm and they treat their animals well. Okay. And if that's what your body needs, and the biggest thing is not getting your meat from industrialized sources. Like with my family, they eat meat. And sometimes when I have extreme iron deficiency, I have to as well. So I will get the meat from a local farmer, a sustainable farm, just like Maria says, and I'll go to the farmer's market and grab something and have it for that time, for that amount of time as I work this through. Because there's not a lot of Native American in my heritage and in my blood. So for me, as an O positive person, and you guys can do your research on that, and also the land that you grew up on will tell you what you need as well, and where you live dominantly in your life. So there's certain people that live in a certain area of the world, and the Native Americans could tell you this is a component of that as well, your connection to the land, whether or not you're going to need meat. I can go through years without needing meat and then suddenly need it again. And then years for not eating meat and then suddenly need it again, right? And then I can tell by the way my body would feel afterwards that it was the right thing to do, right? So shaming yourself over that is not going to be helpful, okay? It's just not. And fish, you guys that are shaming yourself over eating fish, I have completely observed fish to be non-emotional beings. And when I say fish, I don't mean the mammals in your oceans like dolphins. I mean just fish swimming around. They actually don't have emotions. They experience a physiological pain when they die. They have short life terms anyway, and they have a complete contract with humans to become food. And you're not honoring that. If your body wants it and you're not letting. Now, notice I said, if your body wants it. I didn't say you're not honoring the huge contract of ecology when you don't eat fish, all of you, but I'm saying that there are unique blood types that require fish, particularly AB and AB negative. You guys need fish. Yep, Jesus ate fish. Jesus also liked the tannins in red wine. It was new wine. It wasn't alcoholic, but still. And don't take that as meaning you need alcohol, guys. But don't shame yourself if you like it. Yes, I eat sushi, and it's regular because my body needs the omega-3s. It's something about, I'm O positive, and it's something about my type. Look at what it means in your archetypal energies when you look up your archetypes, not just based upon your blood type, but your actual galactic archetype. I have classes about this and channelings about this on my Patreon channel. So we talk about archetypes all the time. If you go and do a search about that, the 7 archetypes, the 777 classes and channelings are about archetypes. So some of that information is there on my Patreon channel. Jesus was AB. Was he really? I'm going to ask him that. No. He's nodding. Oh my gosh, I didn't know that because I just never thought to ask him what his blood type was, but he nodded when you said he was AB. Fun times. I think you were just kidding, but he nodded and confirmed what you said, Sarah. Um, Parasites in raw fish. You need to be very clear. This you need to use your own spiritual discernment and your own wisdom with where you're getting your fish. If you're going to eat meat, it has to be properly sourced. Farms aren't going to cut it. Fish farms aren't going to cut it. Fresh waters are best. I mean fresh running waters, not lakes, fresh running waters. And even then, there can be some mild exposure, but most of the downward flow of the water, particularly fast moving water, is going to detox the metals that come in from the dumping that humans do. But you need to be doing a cleanse anyway. If you're eating fish, you need to be doing a heavy metal cleanse as much as you can. All right. So I started taking in more by using just spring waters from my land source. I don't use the waters that are reverse osmosis because it strips all of the natural trace minerals in the water that you actually need. So I use fresh spring water that I get from a spring. I drive about 45 minutes to Arizona about once a month, and I fill up all my water bottles with that spring water. That helps a lot, just having the right water source, spring water in particular. And also, you can be doing a heavy metal cleanse if you eat fish about once every 6 weeks, and that'll help. So there's a lot of different cleanses that Edgar Casey talks about to cleanse heavy metals. We'll talk about it in my channeling on September the 27th. Okay. Again, you can get that at PamelaAaralyn.com. We're going to be talking about all this then as well. Let me see. I'm going to go for about 5 more minutes, and then I promised my kids I would take them to the farmer's market. Hopi, some of them are vegan and some of them still eat a lot of meat. It just depends. It's all there. Just because you're in a certain tribe or certain descent, it's about your unique body type, your archetype, your galactic archetype. It can be about your Ayurvedic type as well. I find that Ayurveda is really helpful, because they've studied for thousands of years about what works for physiology in humans. So a lot of yogis help me out a lot. I am Pitta, which is very fire oriented. I have a lot of fire. So I'm always eating foods that embody the water element, like fish, to tame down my fire. I'm very fiery, elementally speaking, probably in my personality as well. Yeah. I murder lettuce every day. Someone said, yeah, plants are energetic beings too. And they operate at different levels where they have contracts, just like fish do, guys. Fish have contracts to become a part of the merging of the human biological systems in the gut. Fish have made that contract with us. How do we know what food we need for our archetype? I would say join that channeling on September the 27th. We're going to be talking about what blood types are included in that. That's going to help you a lot. Eating for your blood type is going to be helpful. Edgar Casey has a little bit of a different take on standard blood type diet that you're going to find simply by Googling. So he aligns more with where is your origin terms? What does your Akash tell you? What do the records tell you that you should be eating? So that's personal for each person. And you're going to feel that out, when you ask him, what does the Akash tell me that I should be eating? Is a really good question that you guys can put in the Q&A at the channeling. Because when he told me that I'm supposed to be eating meat, I'm like, that's going to go over like the devil just sat down in the pew of a Catholic church. Are you serious? That's going to go over really well. And I struggle with it mentally. I have not come to acceptance, but he told me 3 years ago, I actually have to have it. No matter what, that there's something physiologically, no matter how much awakening and experience of realization I go through, that I will still need it. And he says, not every person is going to, but some people are going to. Okay. All right. Let's see. What are the factors that cause people's bodies to have identical or fraternal twins? I, Not really in the subject line today. I'd have to go into so much explanation to get into that. It's RH factor primarily, but we'd have to get into some deep science that isn't really relevant spiritually for your path. It's more about the Akash and your desire to go to that experience together in the womb with your mom. It's more about that. It's a contract. It's not like just a physiological factor. So it's more about the kids than about their parents. It's more about the children's contracts to be in the womb together and to be connected in a unique way that no one else understands. It's about so many things. Oh my gosh. So, all right, guys, I'm going to go get some food from my local farmers market and support some farmers. So yeah, Gloria said it's a bigger scheme of things. It's not eating meat or being vegan. It's a belief thing. Yeah. And it's unique. And you're not going to be able to say, no matter what anyone tells you, that everybody on the planet is prepared to be vegan. I'm sorry to say that you're not. You're just not. Not everyone was prepared to be vegan. I personally was not, and many of my students in mystery school are not. Not everybody is prepared to eat the same way. You're just not. You're not. So I'll see you later. And I look forward to the Edgar Cayce challenge coming up next weekend. It's going to be so much fun. I'm so excited to be sharing all the updated remedies. They're not just standard ARE remedies that he did, in the 40s or 50s or whatever. They're updated. Stop bleeding like it's dying for 15 days out of the month, which it's been doing for 15 years straight. Then I will likely stop being, I will likely be able to go vegan with you guys, but it actually can't happen. My doctors and my body both say, no, can't be vegan right now. All right. I'll see you guys later. Thanks for joining these daily with me. And some of you are telling me you're not getting your notifications. I don't know what that's about. So I'm sorry if that's happening to you. And I'll see you later. Have a good one. Bye.